All right, what's up, guys? How we doing? So I just saw Universal Blumhouse's new horror movie, Wolfman. A family at a remote farmhouse is attacked by an unseen animal, but as the night stretches on, the father begins to transform into something unrecognizable. And this movie is written and directed by Leigh Whannell, co-written by Corbett Tuck, and just with that name alone, Leigh Whannell, just anything he does is going to excite me. It's going to excite a lot of people. I mean, this is a January movie, and it's Universal and Blumhouse. We all know how that goes. It's kind of evenly weighed on the scale in terms of how I think I'm going to feel about it. But nonetheless, Leigh Whannell slightly probably outweighs all those other factors. And the trailer looks pretty good. I know the marketing has been pretty crazy. There's been a lot of it. I believe it was Hollywood Horror Nights, if I'm getting that correctly, a few months ago when they kind of revealed the design of the werewolf, the monster design, and it was just this dude in this cheap mask, cheap makeup, and obviously it's not how it's going to look in the movie. And recently they revealed a huge part of the movie, the transformation scene, or at least a lot of the scene, in a new TV spot recently, which I read on Twitter, and once I saw the TV spot just start, I just immediately closed my eyes and looked away because I don't like anything like that getting ruined or revealed to me before I see the actual movie. And this movie stars Julia Garner and Christopher Abbott. I like them. I like the whole family, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, the movie starts off pretty slow, in my opinion. I mean, a movie like this, they're going to build the family dynamic and the daughter, the relationship with the father, of course, they're going to build all of that, but it just felt especially slow, like extra slow for some reason. It kind of had me a little worried in the beginning, but I'm just going to be honest, man. I mean, I think this movie is unfortunately very underwhelming. And I hate saying that. I hate to think that. I wish I felt different because I think Leigh Whannell is amazing. I mean, obviously, him and James Wan created the whole Saw franchise. Leigh Whannell wrote the first 3 Saw movies. He wrote Insidious, and then he kind of went on his own to direct Upgrade and The Invisible Man, which I think are both absolutely fantastic movies. But I don't know, man. I think this movie is just, it disappointed me. I think it's lackluster. I don't think it's very original, which is very surprising. And there's really just not much here. So building that dynamic in the beginning is obviously going to come full circle in most likely the third act. Pretty predictable, I know. That's another problem with this movie. It doesn't really take any risks. So even with how they build this family dynamic, the payoff just isn't there. You just don't quite fully feel that. And that has nothing to do with the actors. Like I said, I do think that they were pretty decent in this movie, but it's just the script is very, very weak and bland, which once again, pretty much everything that I have negative to say about this movie is shocking to me just because of Leigh Whannell's track record and how much I respect Leigh Whannell as a filmmaker. The movie is also very dark. I mean, I understand that they're on this, they're in the Oregon country in the forest and they're in this remote house. It's dark, at one point, they get the lights or the power gets shut off and all that. But the movie, I don't know if it was just my theater, but I couldn't see a lot of what was going on during, the middle act of this movie when he's transforming and they're first, starting to run away and try to escape. Give these people some flashlights, write it into the script, add it after, whatever you have to do, but this movie is so hard to see. I do like, though, how we kind of slowly see Blade transform into this monster, into this creature, probably towards the end of the first act when they first are arriving at this house in the forest, his childhood home. He gets scratched by another monster. So, obviously, that's what's going to give him this virus or whatever it is. And we slowly see it for the next probably 30, 40 minutes. And I did like how at first, it's his hearing that he starts to notice is changing. His hearing is enhanced. And then he starts to experience the same thing with his vision. His vision becomes enhanced and completely changes, which is probably one of my biggest positives for this, for what Leigh Whannell was able to do, is there are a few scenes where we see his perspective, how the wolf is seeing his environment around him. And it was pretty fucking cool. He's able to see vibrations or, whatever it is. Everything is so locked in. Like the way he sees the people in this are different. The eyes are lit up and the colors are just so much more enhanced. It's almost kind of like a thermal vision that he has, but once he kind of fully transforms and it's kind of switching back because he hasn't fully transformed yet, so his wife and his kid are still trying to talk to him. But when we see his perspective, he can't understand a word they're saying. The sound is distorted. Their voice is basically speaking another language. And at the very beginning, they have, title cards or information, and it kind of explains sort of what's going on in the movie. And they mention this group, I don't know if it's a group or tribe or something like that, where what they believe in, this virus or whatever causes these people to transform into this monster are, and the name isn't English. So I wonder if what he's hearing or what we're hearing him hear is that language. I don't know. It's still pretty cool because they keep panning back and forth between, the real perspective and then his perspective. And we go to the wife talking and she's clearly speaking English, worried about him. Then we go back to him and he can't understand anything. It's all distorted, like I said. And I thought that was a cool filmmaking technique that, of course, Leigh Whannell is going to do something that's going to be creative in, some sort of way. But that's another negative because watching this movie, I feel like a lot of it doesn't really have that Leigh Whannell feel to it. It's Universal, it's Blumhouse. So halfway through the movie, even towards the end, I was just like, I feel like anybody could have really directed this movie. And once again, I hate to feel that way. Like an Upgrade, some of the shots, like the camera movements, like what he's able to do, manipulate with the camera is amazing. And none of that is really present here. It's missing that. But I actually do like the design of the werewolf. Obviously Hollywood Horror Nights, it wasn't going to look like that. I wasn't worried. I still trust Leigh Whannell, and I really liked the final look of this werewolf. It's different in some sort of way. It's not, fully covered in hair. His arms, his back, chest, whatever it is. It's not fully that werewolf that you would think of, especially the Werewolves movie that we got last month. Completely different. It does feel like some sort of zombie virus werewolf hybrid creature, which I enjoyed. I thought it was definitely different than what we're used to, and I definitely appreciated that. And there are some gnarly scenes in this movie as well, but with the R rating and it being Leigh Whannell, I feel like there could have been more. He does pull a Saw in this movie, Saw 1 specifically. But once again, even during that scene, it's so dark. Like you can't see any of the blood. You can't really see anything. So the effectiveness kind of just is diminished. Like it really just feels like one long extended Supernatural episode. If you've seen that show, they've done pretty much everything that has to do with demons, anything supernatural, monsters, creatures, they've done it all. Werewolves, tons of episodes involve that. And this felt like an extended episode of that just, and if you're going to make a movie with this concept, especially being Leigh Whannell, like I said, you got to take risks. You have to be different. There has to be some sort of shock value. I know a lot of times shock value doesn't make a movie, but if you're going to be bland and boring and just unoriginal, you got to have something there for me to grasp onto. And there really just wasn't anything for me to latch onto in this movie. Towards the end, though, it does kind of start to get a little bit emotional in some sort of way. Like I said before, with the payoff that we obviously know we're going to get with the third act. It does a decent job at kind of trying to evoke that emotion, that family emotion that you're going to have if you were in this situation. If your father or your husband turns into this monster, he's trying to attack you and essentially kill you. Are you willing to kill him? Are you willing to put this dude down, even though you know deep down he's not your husband or your father? But if you're face to face with this monster and you have that decision, you're still going to see the person that you love in this monster. So they kind of do a good job at putting you in those shoes if this were to happen to you, but it's not really developed very well from the beginning, and it doesn't quite have as big of an impact as I hoped it would, or as it should. So overall, this movie is just missing something. It's missing originality. It's missing more ambition with this story. I mean, I liked the more emotional and family aspects that you have with a family member turning into this monster. It's a bland, boring werewolf movie that I think is easily going to be forgotten in the next few weeks, if not days. He does do some pretty cool things, a couple of them, but overall it's just so underwhelming. I don't know if it's because it's a huge studio movie, Universal, Blumhouse. Blumhouse obviously fails more than they succeed. Maybe the studio interfered, maybe they wanted to just pump something out. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Wolfman unfortunately gets a 5.5 out of 10. And it really just hurts, man. It hurts deep down for me to give Leigh Whannell a negative score overall because I think he's awesome. And no matter what he does, I will definitely check out his next film, all of his films. I will always be there and see it in the theaters. But you can definitely wait to stream this. If you like Leigh Whannell a lot like I do, go support him, even though it is a huge studio movie, but you could probably wait to stream this. But yeah, those are just my thoughts, guys. I appreciate you watching. As always, my name is Zach. Like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you want. And as always, I will see you on the next one.